Hello, everyone, and welcome to the championship of the Atlantic League in 2022. Justin Abramson with you, and we've got an exciting series for you. Tim Furrow and Josiah Emery go at it in recording action as we look to crown a champion in the Atlantic League. Both these players have already punched their tickets to the ITS Champions League for 2023, but the winner of this one will go on to take on Patrick Gong in the East versus West showdown that we will try and host next year before the Champions League takes place. So Tim Furrow, an established player, a player with tournament wins to his name, top 10 ITSR pedigree, somebody who I actually picked at the start of the playoffs to go all the way. It goes up against Josiah Emery. Josiah was ranked in pot 4 out of 6 in the initial seeding for this tournament, had an ITSR ranking in the 600s, but he has defied all of that, gone 9-0, not only reached the finals, but won every single game he's played in this tournament to reach the final, and now has a chance to upset Tim Furrow, one of the great ones, to capture a championship. So we will get to this game right here. We will have the entire series today, be it 2 or 3 games. This is the best of 3. So the big question is, established talent and pedigree going to win out in Tim Furrow? Or will the Cinderella run be completed here for Josiah? So we will find out right now. And these two players were both number 1 seeds coming out of group play. They both won their pools, so they've had random sides for game 1, and Tim is going to be the U.S. for game 1. So we will get it going right now. Having a little bit of trouble with the video. I apologize, folks. I'm going to stop this for just a second. Yep. Sorry about that. Having a little bit of viewing issues. Going to try some different software. Apologies again for the delay. Let's go with, we can just go with 1.5 speed. I think that's fine. Okay. This seems to be working much better. Let's go ahead. Okay, so this is Tim's opening hand. We're watching from his perspective for both games here, and Tim has an unbelievably strong opening hand. He's got Middle East scoring. 4 VPs, barring master headlines from Josiah. He's got 2 4-ops, including Marshall. And he's got both Vietnam and decall, so does not have to worry about Thailand being stolen from him, barring something like a duck coup or a D-stall going into Thailand. So this is a great hand for him. And okay, sock govs, so a strong headline here for Josiah. Let's see if we see an Italy coup, and with Middle East scoring coming out in the headline, I have to think we will see that. Oh, and there's Purge. The big Italy coup, and Josiah rolls a 6 on it. So good start for Josiah as well. So Tim immediately sticking 1 into France. Wants to meaningfully contest that. Okay, so fills up West Germany, goes into Pakistan, just 1 Pakistan, which can sometimes invite a coup, but if Josiah coups, then Tim can take Thailand, and Tim knows that Josiah does not have Vietnam or decall. I would expect Josiah to take Portugal here, though, instead of coupping. Then Tim will spread into India. Okay, and Josiah instead goes to South Korea and one into France, so does not take Portugal, indicating he probably does not have Europe scoring when he wanted to get access to Algeria. And Tim decides to simply fill France with 5-year plan. I think that makes sense. Ooh, very interesting. So Tim did not get into Lebanon, and Josiah decides to event Suez. That's certainly an annoying event. Tim now has to spread out into Iraq. Josiah still has not taken Portugal, though. I wonder if we'll see it here. Nope. Oh, Korean War, just going to take South Korea. That makes sense. Tim going to try and beat him to space. He gets the roll. Tim with 3-2 ops here, no fear of blockade. He wasn't going to want to discard Marshall or NTB to blockade, though. It's probably not 5-year plan as well. So he's just going to hope Josiah doesn't have it, and I think that's probably fine. Although discarding decall certainly is perhaps a heads up that blockade might be a good play. We'll see. Okay, an independent Reds goes into Syria to establish Middle East presence and then one in Israel. Tim's got a coup, so he coups Iraq. Doesn't get the roll. No surprise there. Needed a 5 to do anything. And that lowers DEFCON to 3, so an interesting play coming up here. I'm sure Tim will hold Vietnam. Does not want to give that up. And unless he plans to coup again, DEFCON's going to rise up to 4, so he won't want to go into Thailand just yet. And he doesn't have to worry about decall, doesn't have to worry about Vietnam here in turn 2. So when I start here for Tim, but Josiah did get Italy, and there he goes. He finally does take Portugal to lock up a Europe domination, but another VP on the board for Tim. And Tim takes France. Wonder if we will see Angola. That's interesting on AR6. Yeah, it goes Angola. Wow, all right. Okay, Tim's turn 2 hand does not look quite as good, but he does get containment. This is a pretty strong containment hand. And so that means he's going to have a couple of effective 4 ops. He's going to have AI War, which may give up VPs, but he doesn't have any influence there. He's got Nasser. Josiah will probably want to go into Egypt anyway. And there's Europe scoring for a nice, easy domination for Josiah. So he'll certainly take that. Josiah didn't have to worry about defectors. Defectors was gone. So Josiah happy to get that scoring out and get 4 VPs on the board. And now he's got some choices here as to what he wants to do. With DEFCON at 4, a coup in Africa is just going to be met with a coup back. You could coup Pakistan. That might be my play, but if he has the war in hand, you could coup Pakistan, to which Tim can't coup back. So then Tim either, assuming you don't see a terrible roll, Tim would then need to either to give up Pakistan and coup to protect Africa, or he would need to fill up Pakistan himself. And let's see. Okay, so instead does not go for the coup, and just puts 1 in Afghanistan. Now I suspect we'll see Tim spread into Zaire and also take Pakistan. Yep, that's exactly what he's going to do. It's interesting. Tim wants to get DEFCON down so he can go into Thailand with Asia unscored. But if he coups, he's going to get cooed in Africa. Not sure I like the Angola play there, when he didn't have to worry about decall, but we'll see how it works out for him. It's provided an interesting dilemma here for Josiah. Josiah going to take Algeria and Afghanistan. Afghanistan does give a domination in Asia, although certainly that's easily met with just one Malaysia. And now Tim goes to Tunisia to threaten Libya. Somebody coup something. This one's getting a little high DEFCON weird. Okay, EU will weaken Eastern Europe. Okay, so Josiah going to go for the coup. No, just goes for Tunisia. And only gets one out of there. So Tim just going to replace his ops in France and put one in Tunisia, take the empty action round. Now De Gaulle out of the deck. Suba has gone as well. I think he really wants Josiah to go into Egypt. And then so he can play Nasser. Nasser, he could space Nasser here, but I think it's much better to just use his two ops, get him out of the deck. And there's a coup again in Tunisia, and this time he gets one in there. So Josiah now with 5 mil ops from cooing non-battlegrounds. Both players in kind to keep DEFCON high. And now Tim events Nasser, tries to coup Nasser out with the 2 ops, and only gets a 3. So would have needed a big roll there. Now I would expect that, that was an unfortunate sequence there for Tim, because now I would expect Josiah to coup in Africa, and then Josiah will be able to fill up the western half of the Middle East unfettered. I suppose destall is a possibility here, but you don't have a ton of ops to destall from, and you'd have to put 2 into Thailand. And no, I don't think you'd want to destall here at DEFCON 3. Two coups in Tunisia here on turn 2. I don't think I've ever seen that. But it worked out for Josiah, as he's going to be able to lock up the western half of that Middle East. And a UN of going for influence. I don't understand. I don't like that play at all. Don't love that decision there by Josiah, because Tim did not have access there. I would have liked to see Josiah simply coup in Africa, and now Tim's going to get a coup. He could take a 4-op coup of Algeria. So he's just going to go Egypt, and he hits the roll, flips the country. Surprised he went Egypt there instead of Libya, but I guess Egypt does give access to Israel. Yeah, I think that was a mistake there by Josiah. Josiah needed to coup Zaire and then fill up the Middle East on the next action. And there was no danger of the scoring being played. The Middle East is scored. Now Josiah is going to flip Pakistan, a good play. That gives him domination. And Tim, I suspect, will enter Thailand here. Tim now also has a China card in hand. And Tim needs to he needs to spend all 3 here in Asia. And Josiah wins the war. So we move on to turn 3. Defector's redraw is nice. A duck draw, is nice. And Marshall is an interesting play as well. I like the Marshall event to sneak into Greece and Turkey. Obviously not going to help if you have Europe headlined against you again, but going to be very good long-term in preventing Europe domination. So I like Marshall as an event. Defectors could be good as well. Asia scoring is coming. So a decall redraw obviously would be terrible news for Tim. I think Josiah also got, and there is decall. So I was going to say Josiah also got destall, but the decall redraw is nasty for Tim, because now Josiah is going to be able to go 1 Nigeria, 1 Thailand, probably 1 Laos, and then he'll be able to flip Thailand before the scoring. So a nice redraw there for Josiah, and he gets D-stall as well. So we'll see how Tim decides to attack here in South America. Oh, just the one in Thailand and just going to score it immediately. Okay, so doesn't try and flip Thailand. And Tim, for his part, is not going to event Marshall. An interesting decision there, deciding to use Marshall to cover up Angola, Zaire, Thailand. Does not use China, and this makes blockade a little bit of an interesting play, because I believe Josiah does have. Oh, and there's Europe scoring. So Josiah does have blockade, and Tim does not have anything to discard to it. And just like that, in a good start for Tim, Josiah now up 10 VPs, and he's about to de-stall into South America. Tim did not go into Colombia, so we will see a de-stall here. Neither player has taken Lao either. And there's CNS. I'd like to see Loud. Oh, I don't like that. Tim just gave Romanian. Yeah, I'm baffled by that decision. Don't like that decision at all by Tim to give Romanian with D-stall coming. I would have much rather seen him use something else, really anything else. Because then you're going to have to pull from Tunisia. Yeah, and there goes D-stall, going to empty out Romanian. Yeah, and Tim is a fast player, and that's a mistake, folks. That is a mistake by Tim. Tim's a great player, but I think he mishandled that one. Tim often joins the chat in these games, so interesting to see what Tim was thinking. I think you could have used special there. NATO is not active, and neither of the trigger cards are even active, so there was no chance you were going to use the special event. Yeah, and there's NATO, and it's just okay. And Tim misses on the roll, so tough start here for Tim. One thing I haven't mentioned is CIA. I believe Josiah is holding on to CIA. The chat can confirm this for me. I am definitely someone who loves to lose track of CIA, as some of the viewers know. But I have not mentioned CIA, and so duck and cover stopped Josiah from being able to unload that. Yep, South America scoring probably a strong headline here, although you could make a case for defectors. Oh, Tim had CIA turn 2. That's right. Okay. Never mind. And Libs, a good headline for Josiah. So 4 more VPs. That would have been very defectorable, but then, of course, Josiah gets a coup and Tim has to score immediately. So now we'll see if Josiah wants to take his coup in Mexico or in Panama. And there's 2 VP back for Tim, and Tim is just going to go for, and Josiah's just going to go for Africa. Tim does not have a 4-op to take both Mexico and China back, or excuse me, Mexico and Panama back, though. So he uses a 3 to take Panama and set up relines on Mexico. Also setting up a presenceless domination. which I like. Oh boy, there's a brush war certainly going on in Panama, and oh, he misses the roll. Okay, so a huge miss on that roll. Okay, so Central America looking good for Tim, but and Middle East as well, not looking bad at all. But the other regions are a little bit troublesome. And Josiah's going to realign there, and just one roll is enough. I would consider another roll in Mexico just to eliminate Josiah entirely at +3. Yep, that's what he's going to go with, and he gets the roll. So a nice play there by Tim to neuter Liberation Theology. Gets lucky on the brush war roll, but still down 11 VPs. And with he's going to have to either coup Tunisia to get Milops or give up the 2 VPs. Well, not so much anymore. Now a nice Guatemala coup would make sense. He's going to punt defectors to do it. Always nice of the USSR not to have to worry about that. So I wonder if Josiah has the scoring here. Okay, UN for ops to fill up South America, even though it's scored. Flower Power Cambridge, yeah, I think you want to keep these in the deck. Salt, maybe not. Maybe you want to get rid of Salt with CIA around. I think that's fine. Tim is definitely behind here. He needs to flip some battlegrounds. Have not seen ABM or Junta. We did see Brush War. But grain sales CIA would end the game in a large hurry. And there's a potential out for CIA there. Okay, and South African unrest going to space, and Tim with the opportunity to double space if we don't see that. 2 more VPs there from Josiah. Tim pulls one back, and oh, an excellent hand here from Tim. ABM, Junta. It's also got We Will Bury You. So I think Junta probably is the play to steal the coup. Protect Africa, and then ABM in the middle of the turn. CMC also a possibility, I suppose. Oh, bear trap. And there's blockade. Okay, so blockade dumps We Will Bury You. I think I would have rather got rid of Quagmire in case of missile envy. But okay, so Tim's going to steal the coup with Bear Trap instead of with Junta. And he does indeed get Nigeria. So, yep, and certainly a coup in Africa is more valuable than a coup in South America. So I can see where Tim is coming from. A Guatemala coup with a 1-up. It's very ambitious. You need to roll a 6. And even then, you just empty it out. I'm not quite sure what that was. It was maybe just an attempt to get a mill-op there. Or follow it up with a coup later. So Tim with choices here. He's going to want to... He is down a card. So he's going to have to... And he's going to have to space Quagmire. So he probably will play China and give Cultural. It doesn't need to do that yet, though. You might see... This might be a good spot for a Ted Livermore-style North Korea jam. Korean War is still on the deck, but North Korea not overprotected. So good use of China card here. Jam North Korea, and then follow it up with Cultural if Josiah doesn't have a 4-up. Okay, well, there goes Korean War and another coup in Guatemala. That suggests perhaps Josiah has the scoring. Tim foregoing the North Korea jam and instead is just going to take an Africa domination. Tim down 12 VPs, but the two best really the three best regions, if you count Southeast Asia, on the board for him are all unscored, while Josiah's best two regions are both scored. So Tim likely to claw some VPs back here in short order. And of course, both ABM and Junta in Tim's hand. And Brush War played by Josiah and failed. Muslim for influence stops Africa domination, and two in Iraq makes sense. One up coup. Sure enough, there's a one. Anything but a one would have given Tim domination back. A big four-op coup in Guatemala. Wow, okay, rolls a 5. So a four-op coup suggests he has the scoring. And now Tim's just going to fill up Cuba and take control. So this is going to be a 7-point scoring. Unless I'm missing something. Would have been 5 otherwise. Now it's going to be 7 if Josiah does have it. And there's some success. So Josiah now unable to space 2s, and we have not seen grain, and we have not seen voice. Yep, and there's central scoring. So Josiah's repeated coups there in Guatemala cost him because Tim was able to just fill up Cuba and score control instead of just presence domination. So okay, here we are in turn 6, and Josiah unable to space 2s. He does have the China card back, however. Tim gets gunman. But yeah, Junta seems to be the play here, and then you stick it into Brazil. And Junta also stops Josiah from dumping a card like CIA. What's Che going to do? Che's going to hit Africa, Cameroon, and then Sudan. Does its job. It's going to be very tough for Tim to get domination. Now, oh, he rolls a 6. Oh, that's a huge roll. You needed a 6 to take the country over. Now, a 5 would have kicked out Josiah, so 5 would have been fine too. But boy, that is a huge roll to even out South America. And Josiah was very much ahead coming out of the early war, but Tim has really caught up. Controlled Central America, evened out South America. He's up battlegrounds in Africa and in the Middle East. Well, not up battlegrounds in the Middle East anymore. So Duck is gone. 5-year plan event could be interesting here. Yeah, Middle East I like. But eventing 5-year plan could be interesting with grain and CIA, an unspaceable grain and CIA still around. To really make Josiah uncomfortable. So you really want to get China back with gunmen in your hand heading into the late war. Puppet government's not going to be particularly useful here, I don't think. That says Josiah's planning on giving up the Pope, because we have not seen the Pope yet, and Josiah can't space it. Also, VOA around, lots of stuff around. 5-year plan event seems really good to me here. Josiah's got, he could have grain, he could have VOA, he likely does have the Pope, there's OAS, all kinds of bad stuff you have to deal with. Now, OAS here is not going to be too bad because Josiah can fix it. But yeah, 5-year plan event could win you the game here, and if it doesn't, still gets you some annoying, Josiah's going to have to give up some annoying stuff. Tim's going to just space. Looks like he's not going to do it. Yeah, there's A for P. That would have been huge. That would have been really nice to hit with 5-year plan. Yep, good play there by Tim. So it doesn't event Marshall to get into Grease and Turkey, but uses puppets to get in there. Josiah is signaling he has a real problem hand. Now, I guess the one question is Duck, but Duck, I believe, was played turn 3. I believe Tim headline Duck turn 3 against Josiah's D call. So don't have to worry about Duck. Whereas if you play 5-year plan next turn, you do have to worry about Duck. And, well, that's a moot point. Tim can't play 5-year plan next turn. He's going to have to hold Gunman through. There's U.S.-Japan. So Africa and Southeast Asia still unscored. I guess I'd like to see Tim put 1 in Burma and 1 into Philippines before the end of the turn. Yep, and he's going to do just that. Africa nomination seems unlikely for Tim. Josiah with 8 countries to Tim's 5, even though Tim is up Battlegrounds. And Tim puts a double overprotects Angola. Worried about South Portuguese still to come. And there's the Pope. So OAS and the Pope given up here. Board has really shifted from the start of the mid-war, but but the VP track's still red. Josiah still flirting with War Games territory, but now just has the 1 domination on the board. Tim is not ahead. Josiah is not ahead in Battlegrounds in any region other than Europe. He is ahead on the space race, however. And we'll see if Josiah plays China here. Yep, he plays China. That suggests that he may. Yeah, so flipping Lao and overprotecting North Korea makes sense. That suggests he may have grain and CIA. It suggests he at least has one of the two. And Tim, I'm sure. CIA, grain, VOA. Yeah. Any of those. But I would have certainly played Ussuri River Skirmish and just flipped Lao, giving up the China card like that. Is Tim thinking about eventing missile envy here? Because and preventing Josiah from dumping CIA on AR1 next turn. I would certainly check the discard to see if Olympic Games and Summit were in there. I believe they both are. Now you would hate to hit grain with this. You would not want to hit grain with this. That would be annoying. But hitting VOA with it, okay, River Skirmish. So yeah. I think if I were Josiah, I would have just taken the 3 ops of the skirmish. Okay, well, Josiah's got big problems now because Tim has grain and Josiah does have CIA. I can confirm this time that he does have it. I have lost track of it in commentary before, and even once when I was playing, but Josiah has CIA. And Tim has grain sales, and Tim has China. Cultural is gone. Now what Josiah does have is headline peak, but that's not going to help him against grain. The rest of Tim's hand is garbage. However, he gets Kennedy, which is going to enable him to dump Fidel, Portuguese, Sock Govs, Olympics. Africa, he probably dump anyway, even though he can score it for one. Southeast Asia, he would certainly keep. But the fact of the matter is, Josiah is in a world of hurt here because he's holding on to CIA. Yeah, that's a nice one to pull. That is a nice pull. Yep, Tim just going to take his two VPs. And there's Southeast Asia, so I'm sure we'll see Kennedy next action round. So Tim scores Africa for his 2 points, scores Southeast Asia for 4. The rest of his hand is pretty terrible, so I would expect Kennedy to just dump all of these cards. We'll see. Yeah. Yep. I was not thinking about, hadn't tracked how I learned, but that was a huge hit for grain sales. I think Tim probably would be favored on this board anyway, especially getting rid of all these bad cards. And Josiah's still holding on to VOA, so he's going to have to give. Oh, and there's Central America scoring. A very nice redraw. Yeah, and JR makes a good point. Josiah needed to headline How I Learned, especially he had headline peak. If Josiah headlines How I Learned, then he can simply move DEFCON to 3 after Grain does what it does, or move DEFCON to 4 rather. And Tim won't be able to lose the game on DEFCON. So definitely a mistake there by Josiah. The purge always helpful, of course, but How I Learned would have saved the game at least temporarily. Now Tim would have gone into the late war here with a lead. He's going to be able to score Central here for a nice 7 VPs. Yep. And that is rough. So Josiah Emery loses loses this game on DEFCON. Would have been an interesting late war. I think I'd rather be Tim in this spot, but you never know, especially with war games around. Europe control on the table, and there is CIA. Okay, so Tim takes game 1, and so that is game 1 of 3. And these guys are going to play the second game here, and I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward the video here so we can get that. Sorry, folks, just Tim saying that I have good ideas sometimes when it comes to Twilight Struggle. Thank you, Tim. That is the greatest compliment I've ever received from you. Okay, here we are for game 2. Still watching from Tim's side. This time he's the USSR. And Tim now with a hand that is full of ops. He's got a couple of 4s, 3 3s, and 3 2s, but no access to speak of. 23 ops in this hand, far above average. Yes, thank you, Tim. I do have nice legs. So Suez, I guess, is our headline here. We'll see if Josiah goes with, he's just going to go with the 4-4-2, I would imagine. So Suez and then a big coup in Iran would seem to be the play. 5-year plan, some good targets for that. EEU, not probably what he was looking for, but he'll take it. Probably looking for US-Japan on that one. Big coup of Iran. Oh, he rolls a 1. That's a really bad 1 to roll with. If he rolls anything else, Josiah has to immediately coup back or try coupping Syria. That's a big, big, big 1. And now Josiah spreads back into the Middle East, but just a 2-op, and Tim coups again, and this time empties out Iran. Josiah goes back in Iran. Tim coups Iran yet again, and this time he hits the roll finally. Third time's a charm. Has to give up Japan, but he is able to secure Iran. Now DEFCON all the way down to 2, and Tim with no access. So Josiah free to spread, and we'll see him take Thailand, I'm sure. There's decall going to space. Josiah hits the roll. And now it's Josiah who needs to establish presence in the Middle East with Israel gone. We'll see what Josiah does. Certainly he wants to take Thailand. He's going to need to take Jordan or Iraq. And he would love to take Europe domination as well, but I cannot imagine he has the ops for all of that. Oh, UN of D-stall. Wow. Okay. Takes an Asia domination and now blockade to stop the Asia domination and get Lebanon. And then IP war, I think a good use of IP war here is a West Germany poke. Decall and destall both in Josiah's hands, so Tim knows he's not getting those on turn 2. And he just punted de Gaulle, so he's going to need to poke West Germany to get the access. Oh, and Josiah needing to now event sock govs. So many problematic cards. Suez is gone. De Gaulle is in the discard. Sock govs is in the discard. So Tim definitely needs to... Yep, and now I will see, West Germany poke is a no-brainer. Josiah had a rough hand, but at the same time, he does get rid of a lot of problematic cards. Decall, destall, sock govs, Suez, and de Gaulle now either out of the deck or in the discard. And there's VR, so certainly that's going to be 2. Oh, just 1 in Thailand, and then 1 into France, which makes sense. Oh, and Tim gets some scoring cards. So he also gets defectors. So Middle East would seem to be the headline here. Because Tim did not establish presence in the Middle East. So I think you headline Middle East for 6. And there's CIA. And he's going to see 2 other scoring cards. Tricky decision here from Josiah. Josiah's not going to want to give up Thailand, so he may just put 1 into Thailand to protect it. But he's going to put 1 into France to protect it. Okay, and Tim is going to score Europe. Wow, this is an interesting sequence. So Tim scores Europe for 1. And now Josiah is going to have the opportunity to protect Thailand. But if he does, Tim can just take India. And so he won't get domination. I think my play here, if I were Josiah, would be 1 Thailand, 1 Burma, which forces Tim to take India. Then you coup. Now, Korean War obviously is in Tim's hand, and that is, you could see a potential, Korean War flipping South Korea obviously would be huge. But I think 1 Thailand, 1 Burma forces Tim to take India, then, and uses only 4 op to do it, and then you coup, presumably Iran. Yep, Burma, but does not go Thailand. So Tim takes India anyway, does not want to use China to flip Thailand. I think this is, I guess this is when you coup here. If Josiah were going to overprotect Thailand, he would have done it already. That was the perfect opportunity to do it. Okay, so he does it there, and now Tim can get a coup. Tim's certainly not going to get dominated here. Oh, just scores Asia. Nobody wants a coup. Somebody coup something. Shoot. That should have been a coup. Yes. What WTF are you doing, Tim? Yes. Yes, Tim, you made a mistake, but that's okay. I think both players should have couped by now, but that's just me. There's C5 with all scorings in the dumpster. And Josiah doesn't coup. I don't understand this. Okay, and Tim takes a coup, gets a 3. So isn't able to knock Josiah out of Panama, but he does get mill-ops, and Josiah does not get mill-ops. I don't understand Josiah's decision to go into Algeria before coupping and give up the coup like that. That's a good explanation as any, JR. It seems like people just forgot DEF CON was at 3. And Tim's stuck with just a 1-op play here. A 1-op play that annoyingly is going to give up Europe domination. Oh, not Europe domination because Tim only has 3 in the UK. Yeah, holding defectors is good. Yes, I agree, Tim. Holding defectors through is very good. There's Romanian. Okay, fills up Panama before West Germany, but he's going to be rewarded for that. Yeah, I think Thailand should have been overprotected earlier by Josiah. And then once Thailand was overprotected and India was filled, Tim needed a coup instead of dump the scoring. There goes Fidel. CIA is gone, and Josiah decides to give up Fidel. Okay, here's Asia and Purge. To go with Marshall. And D-Stall. D-Stall obviously a nice draw. And defectors held through. So D-Stall a possible headline here. Tim also hoping Josiah redrew Middle East. So Purge a potential headline here. D-Stall also fine. Yeah, and there's Purge. Formosan is interesting. Okay. Now, Josiah's purged now, so he doesn't really have to worry so much about Formosan. Tim conceding Europe and gets a big coup off on Panama. So if Josiah takes Thailand, Taiwan, it is domination for him. But Tim can just jam South Korea and stop that nonsense with Josiah purged. There's AI war for more mill-ops and just one into Angola. Tim hits on the war. Tim also with IP war in hand, so he's going to get 2 more points off of that. Off of mill-ops, I should say. Nigeria, Zaire, and the 2 in South America make perfect sense. Pretty much a no-brainer there. The rest of Tim's hand not very good, but he's in a position where he could space defectors. And then if he hits, event capture Nazi. Okay, Josiah's going to try the Hail Mary realigns miss, and he hits the second one. Tim dumps the scoring. Not going to get any better for him, certainly. And there's Sock Govs with a hit. So now, going to allow double space. And not risk the realigns. I thought that we might see Tim space defectors to try and stop the double space and then get captured Nazi off, but instead just wants to solidify his presence in South America. I think that's the right move. Wants to make sure Josiah doesn't get more Hail Mary realigns and knock him out of South America completely. I think if I were Josiah, I would have tried for Venezuela instead of. Instead of Chile, given that Allende gives access to the bottom half, and Tim goes for CNS to prevent double space instead of spacing defectors and then possibly eventing CNS for extra VPs. Wants to make sure he succeeds there. There's NORAD for the event. Okay, and he spaces defectors and he gets the roll anyway. So normally the sequence there is you space first and there's decall. So that is rough for Josiah. Now, decall not going to do a ton here. With Asia already scored. But certainly annoying. Never want to give up decall. Okay, it's 16 VPs for Tim. And South America scoring and Middle East scoring, that's going to do it. Yeah, I think so, Josiah. So Quagmire here as a headline makes sense. There's nothing really that's going to save Josiah. And then I suspect we'll just see an AR1 Middle East scoring, and that's it. Junta, that's nice, but not good enough. So congratulations to Tim Furrow. Josiah swept his way to the finals, but Tim is able to lock up the victory here and win the championship of Atlantic League. And he'll go on to face Patrick Gong in the East-West Showdown at the start of next year. He'll also go on to the Champions League along with Josiah and third-place finisher Harry Wu. So congratulations to all players, and a nice tournament for all of them. Speaking as someone who was knocked out in the first round, there are a lot of great players in this tournament, and happy to see these two guys reach the finals. And Tim, certainly a deserving champion, although Josiah would have been as well for some excellent play in this tournament. We will have the East-West Showdown for you either on this channel or we'll have it on Craig's channel. We'll make sure it's broadcasted so everybody can watch that one. We'll probably do a best-of-3 series between Tim and Patrick. A little all-star rivalry. Last year, the two were named as America's All-Stars. Tim recording the only win for our conference of the 6 games. So it'll be good to see the two of them meet up again, and then of course to follow their progress in the Champions League. So Cinderella's glass slipper shatters here in the championship game, but a heck of a run by Josiah as he really makes a name for himself in the Atlantic League, and look forward to having him back in the tournament next year. This is probably my final stream of the year, so thanks everybody for watching. Thank you also everybody for watching my streams as all year, really. I just got my first Twitch paycheck today, so thanks everybody who subscribed, thanks everybody who followed, and thanks everybody who just put up with some annoying ads. Because it's been fun, it's been enjoyable to be part of this community, and I appreciate y'all coming along for the ride. So we'll be back next year with more Twilight Struggle. OTSL starts, RTSL 2023A. I'll be in the Stalin division, really excited for that, and of course ITSL still kicking into full gear. Got lots of games left to go in that. But until next time, this is Justin Abramson signing off and reminding you that rankings rise and fall, records are made to be broken, but flags fly forever. So long, everybody.